Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of What's My Line. This is episode 57. I'm your host, Chris Lemche, as always, and I hope you guys are having a good day, whether it be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day of the week you're listening to. I hope it's a good one. Gosh, I'm pretty excited because actually I get a chance to finally get on a plane and head home to Texas this week. This is my first time going back to Texas in almost 2 years. It's insane because anybody who knows me, I love to travel. So especially during this pandemic, me not being able to travel has been it's been a nightmare. But hey, I'm excited. I finally get to go home, see my friends. It's one of my friends' weddings, so I can't wait to see and celebrate with them. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. But I'm also excited about this guest I have on today. I think you guys are gonna love her. She is an actress, a comedian, former wrestler. Just she does it all. Without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest at this time, Anya Zova, Anna Bogomazova. Is that how you say your name?
Oh my gosh, you said it correctly. Yes.
Oh, really?
Usually times you did it on the first run. Thank you.
But people mispronounce my name all the time, and it's so easy to, I don't know how they do it, but like Chris Lemche, but people make up syllables, they add extra letters into it. So I always feel like I need to make sure I get everybody else's name right because I mean, come on, it's their name. You have to get that right.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So I have two names, Anna Bogomazova and Anya Zova for stage.
Okay, perfect. So you're a Russian American, you're an actress, comedian, an acting coach, also a former pro wrestler. You've like pretty much just done it all in such a short amount of time, or it's pretty crazy. Let's just start from the beginning. So you grew up in Russia?
I did. I grew up in Russia, born and raised. I moved to the States when I was 21. Now I'm 31, so 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, moved to Miami. Got a job offer from WWE. Well, let me take it back. In Russia, I was doing kickboxing professionally. Like I was in national teams, like I was professional athlete. So once I moved to the United States, like I was kind of, what should I do? Because in kickboxing, I kind of done everything I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, what kind of transition should I go to boxing? Because boxing is an Olympic game now, like female boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Should I go to MMA? Because even if it's Olympic sports, you cannot still make money in it. Like you have to go pro. Or should I do MMA? But I'm very bad at grappling. I'm bad at wrestling. So I was like confused.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was approached by WWE, and I was like, okay, I've never been a fan, but like I watched a couple of episodes. Like I knew who The Rock is, like Hulk Hogan, like those big names. And I'm like, okay, I'll come for tryout, and tryout was in Tampa.
Okay.
And well, I had 1 week to watch like a bunch of episodes, and I was like, okay, that might be fun, And I went to Tampa, did a tryout. Man, it was so hard on my body. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real. Like all those falls, the first bump I took, oh my God, everything hurts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like you have to fall for real. I was body slammed on my first day at tryout. I'm like, okay, everything was hurting. I'm like, damn, I had so much respect. I remember the day, I'm like, damn, I have so much respect for wrestlers because it's painful, like very painful. I did like my week of tryout, went back to Miami, and then they got a phone call that I'm in. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm in. I'm moving to Tampa.
So like when who called you from WWE, and were they just looking, like, did they find some, like, one of your old kickboxing videos? Like, do you know how they found you?
Well, I had my website. I had my kickboxing website, and then I had an attorney who was doing, because I got a green card as a person with extraordinary abilities. So my attorney is she's a paralegal, and she suggested me. She was like, "Look at WWE. They're doing like a diva search." I'm like, "What is WWE?" And she like reminded me. So I went to their website and I did like submission button.
Okay.
Like like you can. So back then I did a submission and I sent them a link to my website, and they reached out to me like. I don't remember, but it was very quickly. I didn't even expect, to be honest with you. I was just trying because I was submitting my websites like to MMA managements, to kickboxing management teams, to boxing. Like I was just like out there trying to figure out what to do with my career, and like WWE happened to be one of them. And thanks to her, thanks to my paralegal who was helping me with the docs.
Nice. How did you even get into kickboxing? How long were you doing it before you came to the States?
Kickboxing, I started when I was 14. My father too, like I was doing gymnastics for a while, but I'm very tall. Like I loved it a lot, but like I'm 6'1". Like it's way too tall for gymnastics,
Yeah.
like it's just my body built for that. It's, you cannot, I mean, I'm sure you can be basketball player if you're 5'6", but still, like, your body is just not made for that. And when I was 11, I quit. I did a little bit of tennis. I was very, very bad at it. I was very lazy. I couldn't figure it out. And then back then in Russia, it still was not 100% safe. Like you live in a neighborhood where people sell drugs, and like every week, every day, something happens. And it's not like here, like kids take their children to school. I mean, some do, but most of the time, like I was on my own since I was like 6, 7. Like you just go to school and with a bunch of neighbor kids, and you just figure it out. So, and my father was like, well, for self-defense, maybe you should do boxing. I'm like, well, that sounds fun. Like I've been a fan of this movie, Charlie's Angels.
There's Angels there?
Yeah, I loved it. I'm like, oh, that's badass. I want to do it. And I remember I went to the kickboxing gym. He took me there. I was like the only girl in the gym. I'm like, okay. And I was very flexible still from gymnastics. So that was kind of an advantage too. Like I could do like all high kicks. Yeah, and I started doing it. And my first competition, I won. And they took me right away to like nationals, and nationals I lost. Like I was so ashamed. Like I lost it, and I was like, after that, I was like, I'm gonna take it very seriously. Like I don't want to lose ever again. And I start training twice a day, nonstop. And yeah, I was 14 when I started it. Yeah.
Well, so you really needed that loss. If without that loss that sparked the fire in you.
True. Yeah. Sometimes you have to lose, I guess, just to like, like my ego was hurt. I'm like, there's no way I'm losing again. I don't like this feeling.
There you go. So you're doing kickboxing, and you use that to kind of transition into, like I said, WWE. Did you around that time was that NXT where you signed to, or is that still FCW?
It was no FCW. It was the last when I got signed. It was NXT.
Okay.
NXT just started. This just started doing Orlando videotaping and all that stuff. But my tryout was at FCW.
Okay.
So I did my tryout FCW, but when I was signing the contract, it was already NXT.
Gotcha. So kind of walk me through your first couple of days. Like in like I'm assuming if it was NXT, so Performance Center was around that time, right? Like, what was it like walking into that like locker room area?
Yeah, but well, when I started, they kind of tried to really, and they did a very good job, because if you look now at the female division, at the Divas, it's amazing. It's like all days, the girls are just fantastic. So when I got signed, the same week was Ashley Flair, Ric Flair's daughter was signed, Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Mercedes, and Tennille, the Australian girl. So we got signed the same week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like we all started together, and then they brought in the female coach Sarah. Like she was wrestling in Japan for many years, so we kind of like we had such a good team. And we all like lived in the same rental communities, so it was kind of fun, but it's a lot of work. Like you walk in the morning, you have like 8 a.m. you have to be at the wrestling gym for wrestling practice. It's like from 8 till 11, 11:30, 12. Then you go home, you have lunch, and like 3 p.m. you have to be at the workout gym, like for weights. So you lift weights at the evenings. Then at the evening you have to like figure out your promos, because I guess Wednesdays we had like a taping class, like acting class basically. Not really acting, but kind of acting, where Dusty Rhodes was in charge. I love that man. God bless his soul. He passed away, but he's amazing. Like he was in charge of promo days. So on promo day, basically you stay in front of the camera, all the wrestlers sit behind you in the spotlight, and you have to deliver 1 minute promo, basically talking about your opponent and talking shit about them. I'm like, oh my gosh, we can talk shit about other wrestlers and not get in trouble for that. Like you had to like come up with all you can do is skit together. Like sometimes we would do like a skit, like 2 wrestlers together. And basically you pitch it, and then the promoters in the main office in Connecticut, they watch it and give them ideas how they want to present you on TV. But it could take years. I've seen guys in developmental for 2 years before they make it on big screen,
Yeah.
Well, then I started doing tapings in Orlando for NXT, so that kind of helped the transition. And some people, like some guys in a couple of months ago on the road. So it really depends. But that promo class, it was amazing because you basically, it gives you freedom to do whatever you want to do. It gives you experience in front of the camera and you write your own stuff. And everybody watching you. So it's like a lot of pressure at the same time, but that's where I fall in love with acting. I was, oh my gosh, this is so much fun, you know? And the rest of the days, you work out 5 days a week. You do local shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So at the evening, all the wrestlers drive together in their cars. And we did like all those Florida shows, like Orlando, Tampa, St. Pete, like all those little towns in between. But then it's like if you work the show on Thursday night, you go around 2 a.m. in the morning and 8 a.m. next day, you have to be at the practice again. Mm-hmm. So it was very difficult for the body. I'm like, wow, one day I fall asleep standing because you have like, when you go to the gym, like we take turns to jump in the ring. So like 2 wrestlers in the ring and the rest are waiting, standing by the ring. So I remember I was standing and I fall asleep standing. And another wrestler, a former professional football player, Brandon Carter, he used to play for Texas Tech. He's a huge guy with tattoos all over his body from head to toe. And he's like touching my shoulder. He's like, Anya, wake up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I fall asleep standing. Like, this is you get so tired. Yeah. It's incredible. And I always like felt the pressures that I needed to lose weight. And Ashley Flair, Charlotte, we were hanging out a lot. And she's an athlete. Like, this girl can work out 10 hours a day. Like, she would wake me up at 6:30 in the morning before the wrestling practice. And she's like, girl, we're going to do cardio together. I'm like, you crazy, let me sleep. She's like, no, we're going to get in shape together. And like, we would go for a run at 6:30, 7 a.m., shower, and then go to the wrestling practice. Yeah, it was good times, but man, I do, like I said, I have a lot of respect for professional wrestlers because it's incredible amount of work ethics and work effort, you know, you have to put into that.
Yeah, I've again, like I've been a wrestling fan for like my entire life. I've even once, I did it for like 6 months. I trained to be a wrestler, and like it was again taking bumps, falling your back. Like my first day was literally this coach Tim Brooks. Okay, I want you to take bumps. We're gonna take 50 bumps, get your back used to it. And I was like, day one, I was like, oh, like it's breathing hard. Like, oh my god. So I have the utmost respect for anybody who gets in the ring and decides to do that for a career. So I always appreciate any wrestler who's out there doing their thing. Now you talked about doing promo classes. Do you remember your first promo?
Oh my gosh, I don't, to be honest. At some point, I came up with a character. Well, Dusty Rhodes, he always called me like my Russian queen, and he was very inappropriate, but I never got offended. Like he would always. And I remember one day I came up to the promo class, like in a fur jacket, like very Russian, you know, like I had my fur all over me. And he's like, oh, my Russian sexy queen. And like the wrestlers, he's like, how he's not in trouble for saying all those stuff, you know, but I always was emphasizing their being Russian. I don't remember my first promos, and they never released those tapes. I remember one time somebody hacked their system and they leaked into YouTube a bunch of promos. I don't know out there, but I remember at some point it was like a huge scandal because most of our promos were like on YouTube. Not all of them, but a couple of them were there. Yeah, it's just 1 minute. And sometimes like you go on off each other. Like we can say like, I know if Ashley Flair is going to talk shit about me, I'm like, girl, do you mind if I'm going to talk shit about you? So we just like, you know, we pitch each other. Okay, let's do promo like you do it against me, and I talk bad about you. So you kind of like figure it out among each other. Yeah, but yeah, that's how it usually happens.
Okay. Do you you were working matches like the local shows. Do you have a favorite memory from those shows at all, or a favorite match?
Oh, that's a good question. I think my best match was my favorite one was Ashley Flair because it was very easy to connect with her, and she's an athlete. So because sometimes in WWE, I'm Russian, okay? So like you have to do like all those fake punches. And at some point the girls are complaining that I would pull the hair too hard or I would like grab them too hard. I'm like, damn girl, it's wrestling, you know, it still has to be real. So, but Ashley, she's like, girl, you can punch me, you can grab me, you can do whatever you want to do with me, you know? And like, we were kind of like, and she's tall too, she's like 5'10". So it was very easy and fun to wrestle her because she was the only one who was able to pick me up and like throw me, you know?
Yeah.
And body slam me. So I think that my favorite match was with Ashley in Tampa in a local facility because every Friday, I don't remember, Thursday, Friday, they were doing like local shows at FCW or facilities. So we were doing that. Yeah, because it always was fun to wrestle her because she's very athletic. And like, she's like, girl, I don't care. Punch me, kick me, do whatever you want to do. Like, you know, just be real. Like, let's keep it real. So yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And again, props to Charlotte because she's done incredible things. Obviously, main event at WrestleMania, having fantastic matches with Sasha, Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch. Like, props to her. So it's fun hearing your stories about her.
Oh yeah, that girl, she's amazing. She's like an athlete. Her and Sasha are my two favorites. You know, like Sasha's an incredibly hardworking woman. I mean, things she does on the ring, I'm like, girl, like it's like professional gymnastics. You know, like she jumps off the rope, she does the back flips, and I'm like, wow, that's dangerous too. What she does, but yeah, it works.
Yeah. And again, too, with Sasha and Charlotte, you can both tell like they're I don't think they're just going to be big wrestling stars. I think, especially with Sasha, who just did, Mandalorian, I think those two have the ability to like become like the next, like a female Rock or like a female John Cena at this point, like move into mainstream media.
Right.
Yeah, but speaking of moving into mainstream media, so you said your promo classes got you that acting bug. Were you obviously taking lessons from Dusty? How did you transition from the wrestling world into the acting world?
Very good question again.
I'm just told,
How did I transition? Okay, so I got injured after like a year being with WWE. I broke my arm. Had a surgery, like I'm wearing long sleeve, but like I have a scar from like elbow to my shoulders. So I had a surgery, and after like a month of recovery, I got a phone call from the main office like, sorry, we have to let you go. I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Like, I'm still in recovery, and it's like, sorry, you can try again later. I'm like, okay, it is what it is, It was very hard. Like, I took it very seriously, I'm like, I've never been fired before. Like, it was my first time, like, literally fire me. I'm like, okay. And they're like super nice about it. I'm like, oh, like, it's a good thing, I'm like, okay, I guess I have to figure it out now. So I moved back to Miami, and my arm was still bothering me because it was like a huge plate, and like you can even feel the plate like around the elbow because the skin was very thin, So after a year, I requested second surgery, so they took the plate out. So now I'm fully recovered. Like, it's been years now, but my bone is good. And while I was in Miami, I moved back. I'm like, okay, I love acting. I cannot go back to boxing. I'm still in recovery. I cannot do kickboxing. I cannot do anything physical, right? Like, that's it. Like, I have to pay attention to my body and really heal. Like, this is the time to heal my body, but I have to do something else. And I had this urge to do something like creatively. And I found acting school in Miami Acting Studio with Ralph Kinnard. He's a producer, director, and coach. And I started taking his classes. And I got somehow lucky. Like, I had the agent at that time. I still have her for like sports stuff. She only does like professional athletes. And she called me. She's like, listen, I have a audition for McDonald's. I'm like, okay, like, I'll go. She's like, they want professional wrestler or boxer. I'm like, okay, I'll go in my professional wrestling outfit. And I'm like, I cannot do anything physical, but she's like, no, you don't have to. It's just like for the look, I'm like, okay. So I did the audition as a wrestler, and they asked me if I can do boxing. I'm like, I can throw a couple of punches, but without hitting,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no worries, just like throw it in the air. So I booked the part, and that was with LeBron James. It was like a big thing. And I was like, okay, I didn't realize how big it is. So basically, I got that part. You can see me like for a few seconds in commercial, but it made me qualified to become SAG actor. And I was like, at that moment, I knew nothing about acting. I knew nothing about SAG. It was like, I'm qualified. Okay, I'll join,
Yeah.
And back then, like, the fee was very little. Like, now you have to pay thousands.
Yeah, $3,000 for something for like that for SAG, which is...
I know, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And back then it was like $100 or something. It was like very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Last time in Florida. So I did that. But that actually, because in Florida, there's not that many SAG jobs. So I joined the SAG, but then I missed out on a bunch of local productions. You know, there are so many short films and web series. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that, you know. But I continued taking the classes. Finally got an agent in Atlanta. Doricia Carr with YGB. I love her. It's like a family, you know. And the way I got her, like, I feel like it's important for me to mention because you never know how you get an agent. And I think for actors, it's important. I was taking headshots with, I was also doing a little bit of modeling, but it didn't work out for me. Like, I'm not skinny and I'm not plus size, you know, like I'm in between. So they always had trouble booking me. Like, I'm size 8. Like, if you want to be plus size, you have to be like size 12, you know, like, and to be a regular model, you have to be like 0 to 6. So I'm like, I was in between always. So that didn't work out, but I was taking headshots for modeling with this local Miamian photographer. And he's like, do you act? I'm like, yes, I'm a SAG actress, but there's no job for me in Miami. And he's like, well, I work with with agent in Atlanta. And she's amazing. It's a small boutique agency, but she's a very hardworking woman. I can refer her to her. I'm like, yes, please. And basically he gave me her email. He mentioned my name to her. And she was like at the beginning of her career too. Like, now her agency is one of the top in Atlanta, I would say in Southeast in general. And she signed me. And I was like, wow, but for the first year, I didn't get maybe a few auditions, you know? So it took for me time also to establish a relationship with the agent, to show her that I'm serious, that I'm taking classes, that I'm available, you know? So you never know how you get your agent. And that's how I got the Doricia.
So you showed her that you were serious, that you were still taking classes. What was like the first job that she booked you on?
The first one was MacGyver.
Oh, okay.
MacGyver remake, which was last year. Yeah, it was 2019. We booked it, but it aired 2020. And I didn't even audition for that part. That was so funny because I emailed her. I'm like, I'm taking a week off. I'm just sending her emails that don't book me for that week, you know? And she calls me. She's like, Anna, you're going to kill me, but I just got your email, but I booked you on something. I'm like, what do you mean you booked me? I didn't even audition for the last month. She was like, yeah, but they need somebody urgently. And the casting director already knows you from previous auditions. So like, they want you next week in Atlanta. I'm like, okay. I canceled my vacation and I flew to Atlanta and I did MacGyver, which was amazing experience. So you never know. You see, for that part, I didn't even audition. It just happened.
Nice. So when you kind of walk me through that, because that was like your first like audition or the first thing she booked you on. Were you nervous being on set of MacGyver? Was that like your first major TV role?
Yeah, it was my first major TV role. I've done before like a web series and feature films, but it was my first television role. Of course, I was nervous. I was so freaking nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like they give you this breakdown, like the schedule, right? Mm-hmm. And the schedule is so complicated for the week. I'm like, I don't know how to read it. It's like, it's like a table with names and dates and times. So I'm like, I don't understand what's happening, you know? Yeah. But then you figure it out. I was also nervous because I read the script and I realized that I have to like shoot. I have to kill. My character had to kill 3 people, and I don't know how to shoot, you know. And like, I don't know what to do. And I called Doris, and she's like, "Don't worry. Like, get first of all, they're gonna have somebody on stage on set, but they also." I had one day in between the sets. She's like, if you're free tomorrow, try to find, and she gave me the name of the acting studio, and they had somebody who does the gun training. Mm-hmm. And I told them, I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry. I know you probably don't have any time, but I just need 1 hour. Can I have like a private instructor for 1 hour to show me how to hold the gun, how, you know, so it's real. I want to put it up. So yeah, they gave me, it's Nick's Cantini acting studio in Atlanta. Apparently very good one. They helped me for 1 hour. They basically gave me the basics, how to handle the gun. So once I got on set, I felt very comfortable. You know, like I'm like not very comfortable, but I knew how to hold it, where to put it, how to pull it up, how to put your fingers around the gun. So for the actors, if you get tactical training, because on set they had somebody on paper, like, okay, this person going to help you, but in reality, nobody teach you anything. So they expect you.
They expect you to already come in prepared and know how to at least hold a gun at least.
At least, yes. So get your tactical training because apparently it's very, very needed.
Yeah. So from MacGyver, what was the next project you booked after that?
Next part, it was my such a good year, 2019. Like a month later, I booked Brooklyn NineNine. That was from another agent in New York. That was actually very funny. Jim from Universal Attractions. Like I believe like in making wishes and dreaming big, and I wanted to have an agent in New York. And I was like, I was looking on DB Pro. I was looking for New York agents. I would send them my submissions, but I never got any phone calls or replies to my emails. And one day I get a phone call from Universal Attraction Agency, and they're like, hey, we would like to set up a phone call with our agent. I think it would be a good fit for our agency. And I just assumed it's one of the agent I sent emails to. But then I looked at all my sent emails. I never sent them any emails. So they just found me somewhere. And the name of the company, Universal Attraction Agency, Yeah. I'm like, that's insane. Like, so yeah, I had a phone call with Jim. He's a very sweet guy. And he's now in LA. They opened another branch in LA. And yeah, he signed me up. And I don't know how, he probably signed me during the summer. And he got me audition on September, I think. Yeah, so it didn't take that long. So he sent me audition. And it's because Brooklyn Nine-Nine shoots in LA. Mm-hmm. It's like, listen, when you do self-tape, don't say that you're in Miami. Just say you're in LA, I'm like, okay, white lie. We're going to do the white lie. He's like, if they book you, we'll figure it out. We're going to tell them. But for now, don't mention anything. I'm like, okay. And there was a Russian character, Anna from Brooklyn. And I'm like, oh, that's just, me, And I remember I did a self-tape and I exaggerated my Russian accent. I did it extra strong. Mm-hmm. And he called me, he's like, listen, they like you, but they want to make you do another tape and just take the accent down a little bit, like speak like you still have an accent, just don't exaggerate it. I'm like, all right. So I did a second tape and they booked me. And I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm flying to LA. This is like amazing. Yeah, I did that part in LA. It was so much fun. I was so blessed because MacGyver, the whole team is like a family. Like you go to set and they make you feel so welcomed. It's just amazing. And the same with Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like the second you arrive on set, it's like a big family. They welcome you. They make you feel very good, very comfortable. And everybody makes sure like you having fun. At some point I remember some DA comes to me. He's like, are you having fun? I'm like, yes, I'm having so much fun. I just try not to show it. I don't want to be like this bubbling girl.
You want to be like a starstruck little like girl walking around. Like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Exactly. He was like, are you having fun? I'm like, I'm like inside. I'm ready to explode, It's just, and he started laughing. And yeah, that's how it happened.
Nice. Well, I was going to ask you a question, but beforehand, I want to hear this exaggerated Russian accent that you did on your audition, because I'm curious to know what was the first take.
Okay, so let me remember the lines. It was so basically my character, she lost her teeth, one of her teeth, right? And my husband from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he was running around the town trying to find my tooth so he can find me. Mm-hmm. So basically, and eventually we meet at the bar and he's wasted. And then the camera switched to me and I sit next to him. And he says, and he realizes he found me and he says, oh, my toothless Cinderella. But before that, I was saying, oh, he orders a drink. And I say, the same for me. And then he turns around and I say, but the hole in my... So basically I said, the same to me, like I exaggerated the TH sound, mm-hmm. The same to me, but the hole is in my mouth. Like I was exaggerating the TH sounds. Yeah, I think that was the main concern, they had.
They're just like, okay, well, that's good, but just tone it down a little bit, and you got it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Do you prefer? Because I always like asking actors this, especially now with like everything going on with COVID. Do you prefer self-tapes versus live auditions? Which one do you like really, if you had like a preference of what to do?
I didn't had a live audition in a long time. So I'm so used already to do self-tapes, and I feel like I have more time, like I can actually do, I can do 100 takes. I hate doing it. I usually do like 5-6 takes, because once you do too many, you feel like, oh, nothing is good enough, and
Sure.
I just quit. Like, I'm doing the wrong job, this is not for me. But yes, I like to do it on my own nowadays, because I know how to put the lighting, I know where to turn my face, I just feel more comfortable. But at the same time, in live auditions, I feel like it's a better chance for us, for actors, just to have a good impression, because it's so difficult. Like, how do you know the personality? Like, if I
Mhm.
watch your audition, it's very difficult to know, are you a good person, or are you going to be weird on set?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, just the vibe of the person. And I do feel like for actors, if we have an opportunity to do it in person, it's a big plus, because you can win the room easily. Just being yourself, you just see that you're a good person, you're normal, you're humble, you smile, you're easy to communicate with. And it's already, I would say, not 50, but 20-30% of success, of winning. So yeah, I would say if I would have an opportunity to do it in person, I'll be grateful, but I would be freaking out because I haven't done it in a long time. I would be like, oh my gosh, I have to do it in person. What
No,
about you?
I prefer the in-person audition because, like you said, like I think it's easier to win the room that way. Because yeah, I've done a lot of self-tapes, and it's just always hard. Like after I like my fifth or sixth take, I just, like you said, just get like, oh, nothing's gonna be good enough. I just start to like doubt myself with each more take. Whereas in person, I'm already kind of on. We're like, all right, I'm about to walk in the room. Let's just go, and they'll just see my personality, and that gives me more like, it's weird to say, but it's like I have more space to work with in person compared to like a self tape to some dude just gonna watch you for like 10 seconds. They're like, all right, let me just turn this off.
Yeah. But have you been doing in-person auditions lately?
I had one like a month ago, and it was so weird because it's obviously been so long with everything going on with the pandemic. It was just like, oh yeah, this is weird being in like being in a room and just sitting and waiting. Like I don't remember doing this. Okay, all right, here we go.
Was there other people around me?
Yeah, there's other people around me. We're all just sitting. I signed in. I was like, oh, I like this. I miss this.
It felt good, right? That's like old times.
Yeah, and again, it's like I feel more comfortable because I can see who I'm talking to, and like I can kind of build like a good relationship with the casting director or whoever, or like the director's assistant, whoever's actually in the room. I can kind of like start to build my relationship there. Whereas again, like on a self tape, it's just hard to like, okay, they'll see me like, oh, this guy looks good, but they don't know like my personality. They don't know like, all right, he looks good, but can we work with him? So
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just, when you do the slate, like when you say your name, I'm just trying to show my personality. I'm like, I'm trying to smile because I usually get those like tough characters, like I'm not that like that in life. I just want to show that I'm not a tough person in life. Yeah, but I hear you. Agree, 100%.
do you when you first started getting into like acting, were you using stuff like Actors Access or like Casting Frontier, or was there other like casting services that you were using?
I had Actors Access for a long time, Casting Networks, Casting Frontier, and Backstage. Yeah, Backstage, but Backstage mostly for student films. And also how I got like also little parts, it's from acting studio, because like actors, some actors start making their own short films, some of them start producing web series, or they would work somewhere else. Like in few parts I got just by referrals. Like my friend Andrew, he was part of the web series and they needed a character who looked like me. He just called me, he's like, hey, can you come in for audition? I'm like, sure. And the same, like some people start shooting their own stuff, and so my experience basically I got from other actors, like just from knowing people and networking. And Miami is kind of small community, like we all, like all producers and the local directors, we like they know each other, and they know actors too. So that's how I got my first experiences, I would say.
When you did Brooklyn Nine-Nine, was that your first time coming out to LA?
Um, for film and TV, yeah, I've been like as a tourist, I've been in LA, but for work, it was my first time.
Oh, okay. Thanks. So you've done acting, you've done the two shows. How did you go from acting to starting? Because I see you do open mics now. Like, were you always wanting to be a comedian as well too, or was there your experiences like? Because obviously Brooklyn Nine-Nine it's a comedy. So was that kind of influencing your way? Like, oh, let me me try giving comedy a hand.
I mean, it did because in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I really enjoyed the comedy. And like one of the acting coaches in Miami, CJ, he always saw this comedic part of me. Like any class, he would give me like the comedy, script. I'm like, I want to do drama. He's like, no, trust me on it. Like he would always give me those comedic roles, and I always enjoyed it. Again, what I'm gonna say is gonna sound ridiculous, but I do astrology. I mean, I like astrology readings, and I always like every year, like I do astrology reading with another astrologist. I try different ones, and one girl, she was like, "Yeah, I see you're an actress. It's very good for you. You have to be on stage. You have to be in front of the camera. But have you thought about comedy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love comedy." She's like, "No, I'm talking about like stand-up comedy." I'm like, "No, I've never tried it. It's never even crossed my mind." And she's like, "Well, I think you should try it because some planet is in front of another planet, and it shows the humor and stage." So basically, she translated me as a planets, and I'm like, "Okay, I've never done it. I've never thought about it." And actually, I had a fear of stage, believe it or not of stage,
Really?
but the microphone. I would freak because I had like a full-time job at that time. I was working for a real estate developer, and we had to do a lot of presentations for like investors from different countries. And like I can do it in front of 10 people, but one day I had to do it like in front of 50 people in Toronto in Canada, and I just froze. Like I had a mic in front of me, and I see those 50 people, and I see my boss sitting at the last table, and like, oh my gosh. And I just froze. It took for me like my voice was trembling, like I was just freaking out. I was sweating. I'm like, no, no, no. And then she says about comedy being on stage. I'm like, okay, that's going to be a good way for me to overcome the fear, just to do it. And a week later, and I was like kind of like thinking, what should I say? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna figure it out. And I drove to next week after the astrology reading. I just went to open mic in Miami. I went to the neighborhoods that nobody knows me, to little bars that nobody knows me. I'm like, okay, if I bomb, if I fail, at least I will never see those people again. And I signed up for open mic. It was a bar mic. I didn't know anyone, as I said, and I kind of got lucky because the guy in front of me, as a comedian, he was Ukrainian, and he was talking a lot about Ukraine. And so when I went, I just picked up from him, like I was basically improvising. I'm like, oh, he's from Ukraine, I'm from Russia, and people like started laughing. I'm like, oh, this is easy, like I just picked up what he left there and transformed it to my own. I'm like, okay, that's not difficult at all. Like, why I was so nervous. The next day, I went to another open mic and I bombed. Nobody laughed at my jokes, and I'm like, oh, again. I failed, and like in kickboxing, after I bombed for the second time, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take seriously now. I'm going to figure out how to write jokes. I'm going to study. I'm going to watch other comedians, and then I start taking it seriously.
What comedians did you watch after the bombing?
Well, I watched the most like famous Netflix famous. I mean, not Netflix famous, but in general famous. I watched Dave Chappelle. I watched Kevin Hart. Like you will go on Netflix, you put stand up, and there's the first ones that pop up. So those I start watching. Now I really like Sarah Silverman. I'm a huge fan of her. Like I watched all of her specials. I just started watching them. I'm like, okay, you have to tell the story, but find humor in those stories, and that's how it happened.
Thanks. And so since then, been watching the comedians on Netflix, watching the specials. So, like, what would you say is, like, do you still get, like, nervous performing in front of people? Or, like, by now, do you think you have, like, a good, like, okay, I got this. I can just wow this crowd. The crowd's going to be laughing. They're going to be eating out of my hands here in a little bit.
I get nervous. Not freaking out nervous, but like I go to the show, I'm like, oh, I got it, it's fine, I have my material, I'm confident I have my material. And then like right before I go on stage, I'm like, oh, it doesn't work. What do I do? What and it's different crowd. So I'm sorry, my emails, I don't know how to.
Oh no, you're good.
Yeah, no, I get nervous. I do. Every single time.
Is there like a technique you use to kind of like calm your nerves down? Like, is there like a way you kind of like work the crowd? Like, say for instance, you see the crowd's kind of dying off. Do you have like a certain kind of pattern where you can just like, okay, they're dying off, but I got a joke for them to kind of really boost their spirits back up?
What I'm trying to do now, if I'm not going up first, if I'm somewhere in the middle, I just watch the comedian before me.
Mhm.
And once I go, it doesn't matter if he does bad or good, I just listen to his material. And when I go on set, I try to make a comment about his material or him, so it's somehow continues. It's like continues a story, it makes the audience be involved and they see that I was listening to the guy or girl in front of me. And if I know or comedian, if we performed before, like I can say something else, like we all have like inside jokes and stories of comedians. So I use that, or I um I usually like say maybe my first joke, one liner, just to warm them up. And if I see they kind of not listening or they're tired, I start having a conversation with them. Like I do the crowd work. I basically, which I know for TV, if you do like 1 hour special, you're not supposed to do that. But for like comedy bars and stuff like that, you have to do it to engage them, you have to make them part of the story.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not going to pay attention.
How's it been like performing in comedy bars, especially now with like everything with COVID? How's that been like?
Well, I feel like Miami in general, we're very different from the rest of the world. Everything's open. I'm like, I guess now there's COVID and like, is there a lot of cases? Still a lot of cases. And I was just West Palm Improv a couple of weeks ago. It was sold out show. Like all those tables. I mean, they put like those plastic dividers between the tables, but it's full crowd. Also, bars are packed with people. Like packed, and not like you have to wear a mask if you go to the bathroom, but if you're sitting at the table, you don't have to. So I do feel like Miami, I just been very careful. Like, I try to wear a mask and they sanitize the mic. Like after you go up, they spray the mic before the next comedian comes up. But yeah, we've been a lot of comics from LA moving here, like because in LA it's difficult to get gigs, everything's still shut down, but here in Florida, like everything is open.
Yeah, I know like a couple of my friends who do stand up, they've been like struggling trying to find like they do like online stand ups and stuff. And I think now since California's slowly started opening up, like I think one of my friends is like a show in San Diego next month. So it's finally kind of starting to get back to being normal. But I just feel for them if they have no chance to do like live stand up shows anymore. Like again, they do online, but I've always been wondering how like an online stand up show would work in a sense.
I've done a few on the shows. It's still good to keep you to keep you in a flow, and keep your material going, but you don't get the same hype,
Mm-hmm.
Like once you're on stage and if it works, I get high. Like I get so high, I'm like, wow, it's like you get your, heroin shot. I've never done heroin in my life, but like I would imagine it's like you get so high.
Yeah.
But from Zoom shows, I've never got it. I'm like, okay, I get some laughs. Okay, I can practice my jokes, but you never get the same because it's even if it's 10 people or 20 people, if the energy is high and they're laughing, it's undescribable. I don't think it's better feeling than that.
So you also are teaching classes now. What's it like becoming an acting coach?
Love it. I do now in private classes, but hopefully summer I'll start the school officially and I'll do the small groups, 7 to 9 people. Love it. The reason I started doing it because I was taking a lot of classes everywhere. Margie Harbor in LA, in Atlanta, in Miami for many years. But then I found a teacher from Russia, and she teaches the basic Stanislavski technique, but she also teaches how to work with voice because I don't think any schools in the United States they teach that, but it's so important because basically the body follows the voice, and it doesn't mean you have to be a singer. It just means you have to be able to use your voice, and you can create an intimidating character just with your voice, or you can create a Disney princess character with your voice. And I started taking her classes, and she's like, "I'll teach you in one condition: if you continue teaching others." So I'm going to pass out my knowledge to you, but you have to do it. I'm like, and at the beginning I had so much resistance. I'm like, who am I to teach? Yeah. I'm like I always had this idea, like in order to teach, I had to win Oscar before I can teach somebody else. Yeah. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm going to teach you very unique. It's very unique. It's very, I would say it's old school, but at the same time, it's very progressive at the same time. She's like, I'm going to teach you, but you have to pass it on. And we make a deal. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And now I'm teaching somebody who's, well, I have an actress. I have another student. She is very successful in like spiritual development, and she does a lot of online courses where she teaches like 1,000 of people online. And she's like, I just need to be able to perform. It's because it is a performance when you in front of so many people, and it's been working very well. But when you work with somebody who's very determined and professional, and because I give them tools, but what they do with that, it's not like if you start working out, you get results in 1 month. But if you stop after that, you're not going to have those results anymore. So you have to continue. So the same with me, like I'm giving them the tools, and then it's up to them if they use it or not.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Like, again, too, especially like my philosophy of acting, like I have to always keep like trying to find like new techniques, new classes, just new in general, because I got to keep myself like I said, like it's like working out. Like if I stop working out, everything I've done beforehand all goes away. It was all pointless. So like I have to keep the momentum going.
Yeah. What is your favorite technique? What is your favorite classes you ever took?
So I take this class in LA called LA Acting Studios, and this guy David Roundtree, he's kind of done this thing called the Roundtree Method, which I really like because he's gotten me the chance to like, because I've always been my biggest thing was been like getting stuck in like 2-person dialogue, not utilizing my environment enough. So he's gotten me to the point where I could start now when I look at scripts, like, okay, how can I as a character make sure like I can utilize a set or what's the environment. He has me thinking more about the character than the lines, because I always keep. I mean, it happens to everybody. Always keep like, oh, I got to memorize these lines. I got to memorize these lines. Like, no, I got to memorize what the character is going to be. What his behavior is going to be like. Because the lines will come. We both know this. Like the lines will come. It's just like people watch how characters interact with each other. That's why in certain movies it works. Like people love these Marvel movies. You know why they work so well? Because it's how the characters interact with each other. Nobody's listening to what like Captain America is actually talking about. They're listening to, or they're watching how he interacts with all the other Avengers, how he interacts with the villains and whatnot. So that's what's gotten me to start, like his method's gotten me to like think more about that in a sense, instead of just, oh, I just need to memorize lines. Like, no, I need to memorize, or I need to perfect what my character is going to be.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. If you get the character, if you get motives of who he is as a human being, the lines will come.
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you this: like, since you worked with Dusty, what's like the one life lesson he gave you that's always going to like stick with you?
Oh wow, that's a good question. Oh, I think wow, I'm gonna get very sentimental. Actually, I think he knew that I'm gonna get fired, but he always had my back. And I remember my last promo I did in WWE. I kept seeing that like wrestlers who used to do like those funny gimmicks, like they would come on stage and they would dance. They would get picked up and be on TV. And like Emma, Tenille Dashwood, like she was doing like the dance going on stage, and it was huge back then. Then it was what's his name? George. What is his name on stage? The black African American guy with 2 girls dancing. So it was like a couple of.
Was it Brodus Clay?
Brodus Clay, yeah. So it was like a couple of. Was like funky stuff, and they would get picked up, And at my last promo, I didn't know at my last promo, I still had. I remember after the surgery, my arm is like that, right? So I'm wearing the thing on my shoulder. And I'm like, okay, I have to make fun of them because like tough characters, they're not getting picked up, but like funky characters, they get picked up. So I remember I was wearing like a black coat and I started my promo very seriously. And then I looked straight in the camera. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'm like, okay, guys, basically, I was talking like to producers. I'm like, okay, basically, guys, tough and strong is not good enough for you. You want to see like something else. And I don't remember the words, but that basically was the idea. So, and I took off as a black coat, and I had behind me like this belly dance outfit, uh, and I knew how to belly dance. I used to take a couple of classes, and then my hand is still like that, you know.
Yeah.
But I start, and then I get assigned to the guy behind the camera. He turned on the music, the belly dance music, and I start dancing, you know. Um, and then the producers' rooms open up, and Dusty almost, and he's a heavy guy, right? He almost runs off. He stands in front of the camera and he points to the camera. And he's like, "This is what I'm talking about. Look at her. This is what I'm fucking talking about." He got so mad, he goes back to the producer's rooms and he slams the door. And so basically, they already knew that I'm going to get fired.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dusty, I'm ready to cry, you know? So he knew I'm getting fired and he tried to save me, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure she got so mad at the producers, you know? She's like, "You see, this girl can even dance, you know? She's not just can punch and kick asses, but," and I'm not good belly dancer, but it was a okay performance, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, this is what I'm talking about, like, look at her, this is what I'm talking about. And then he just slammed the door and he walked away. But actually that moment just taught me to stay true to myself, you know. Mm-hmm. Like, I got it. Like, no matter where I am, no matter if they fire me, okay, that's fine, I still got it.
Yeah.
So he just gave me this confidence just to believe in my own stuff. Like, if I want to do belly dance, I can do that. If I want to make fun of other characters, I can do. But it's not even that. He just gave me this confidence that I can do shit, you know? Like, if Dusty Rhodes believe in me, I believe in myself. So that's a lesson I think he gave me.
Nice. That's a good lesson to have. Props to Dusty on that one. That's a really good lesson. Yeah. And definitely stay true to yourself, because again, as you've proven, you've taken some L's, but you use those L's to use that as a way to motivate you to just make further advances, keep you going, keep you inspired. So that's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let me ask you this: do you have, as an actress, do you have a dream TV role and a dream movie role that you'd want to do?
Okay, a dream movie role. I really want to be the Wonder Woman. I want to play this badass. Sorry, I have to connect my computer before it dies. It's better days. So I want to play this badass woman, like a superhero, you know, who saves the world. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's what I want to do. Or something like sci-fi. I really like sci-fi about aliens and, you know, like saving the world.
Very nice, very nice. Well, I mean, they do make a lot of these superhero stuff now, so I think you definitely have a good chance of getting a role in a superhero film. Actually, I'm gonna make a bold prediction right now. Someone from Warner Brothers can clip this out. Wonder Woman 3. I would say cast Anya Zova here, and yeah, why not? Let's see what happens. Put her up against Gal Gadot. Let's see if Gal could hang with Anya here.
I'm meant to that. Chris, but what about you? What is your like dream role?
Oh my God! Didn't expect that to be turned back on me. You know, honestly, like my dream role is basically it's so cliche. Like, being a superhero would be cool because, again, like as a black American, you don't see a lot of like black superheroes. That's why like when Black Panther came out, it was such a big deal. And like, I wish when I was a kid I had a Black Panther, because that's awesome. Like, I want to be like that inspiring hero to some like little black kid out there watching. So that's like my little like pipe dream. But hopefully one day.
Black Panther 2.
Yes, exactly. Black Panther 2, and they're also making a Wakanda Disney Plus show. So if anyone from Disney listening, I'm available.
And you're ready, willing, and capable.
Exactly. And also, like I said, I've been a wrestler before for like 6 months. So I'm willing to be thrown around and take a whole bunch of stunts and whatnot. So yeah, sure, why not?
You do it once, your body remembers. You can do
exactly. Yeah, I'll fall on my back again. Like, oh, there it is. That's the old.
This time you get paid very well for that. You're like, okay, I'm getting paid very well to do that.
Exactly. So one last question, since to kind of tie it all back together. Like, you said you came here, 10 years ago when you were 21. Happy belated birthday, by the way. What would you tell if you can go back in time, what advice would you give your young self?
It's so good. I feel like you're reading my mind because I was running today on the beach. Usually where I never run is kind of far away from me in Miami Beach. And I remember I came to that beach when I just moved to Miami, and I was such a different person back then. Not good or bad, just different, like immature, young, naive. But I was running on the beach. I'm like, wow, it's been such a long time. I'm here and like, look at my life. I'm happy with my life. I wouldn't change a thing. I would just tell myself to, got a girl, just don't worry. Like, stop worrying too much, don't overthink things. Just, you want to do something, do it. Feel like I was worrying too much in my life. Like, I had so many anxieties. Like, what if it doesn't work? What if it works? Just don't think about it.
Mhm.
It's what is in your power is to try it out. Like, just go and do it. But the rest is up to the universe.
Mhm.
And eventually, if you persistent and you keep trying enough, or the stars align. No, it's just gonna happen. I would say myself, just trust yourself, do your thing, do what you want to do, and stop worrying. Just enjoy life, enjoy little things, enjoy the wind on your face, this delicious coffee, enjoy the good conversation. uh, just enjoy every single moment of it, because after that, that moment is gone. You cannot repeat it.
Yeah.
You can try, but it's going to be a different moment. Just enjoy every single thing, because it's gone. After a second, it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of like that's probably what I would tell my young self. Like, just enjoy the moment, live in the joy of now, in a sense.
Yeah, 100%.
So Anya, where can people find you online? Where can the people find you on the interwebs?
Okay, IG, where we're friends, where I met Chris. I feel like I know you from Insta. It's crazy. Like, Instagram makes like all those stories. I feel like we're part of each other's lives.
Yeah.
I feel like I know him so well. IG, I just changed my name to Anya Zova. Um, Facebook, Anya Bogomazova, but I don't use it that much. So IG is my main thing.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, definitely check you on IG. You get like again, my prediction's gonna happen because well, it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. It's gonna happen. You guys will be seeing her Wonder Woman 3 or any kind of like superhero show. Definitely gonna be checking out Anya Zova. So yeah, remember the name, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. And I'm into all your predictions. And I'm into my prediction about you.
Thank you, thank you. Well, again, thank you, thanks for coming on my show. Again, happy belated birthday. May year 31 bring you all the blessing in the world.
Thank you. And I wish you all the blessings and success in the world.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Anya, and I will talk to you soon. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at @thechrislemchi and on Instagram at @thechriscrusade. And until next time, guys, peace out.